Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. I'm Candace Breyer, Chairperson of the Zoning Board of Appeals. The Zoning Board of Appeals is a 9-person volunteer board nominated by the mayor and approved by City Council. First, we will hear from Planning Services, represented by John Barrett. Then the applicant or their representative will make their presentation. Applicants will have 5 minutes in which to make their presentation. Staff will keep time and will announce when 30 seconds are remaining. Public comment is available in person or remotely. We will first call on individuals present to address the board, then remote participants. To speak during a public hearing or during public comment remotely, press star 9 if listening by phone, or use the raise hand feature if viewing through the web link. For phone access, call 877-853-5247 and enter meeting ID 938-1648-1007. City staff will select callers that have raised their hand using the last 3 digits of your phone number or by name if available for those accessing through the web link. You will hear an automated announcement that the host is allowing you to speak. When speaking, please move to a quiet area and mute any television or background sounds. We may ask questions of either the city or the applicant. We will acknowledge any written comments received by the board. We will allow an appearing party to express their support or objections. The board will then discuss the appeal and formulate a motion to approve the appeal. 5 affirmative votes of the board will be required for an appeal to be granted. Finally, any qualified party who is aggrieved by a decision of the board can appeal that decision to the Washtenaw County Circuit Court on a timely basis. I believe John has a couple quick announcements before we do the roll call.
Good evening. I am John Barrett, zoning coordinator for the city of Ann Arbor, and tonight I would just like to introduce one of our newest members of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Her name is Roberta Sutton. She's to my left, and everyone make sure you go ahead and introduce yourselves and do a round of greetings after the meeting tonight. And additionally, we have a new staff member. His name is Eric Perdonik. He comes to us from Farmington Hills. He's been with the city for 1 month, and he's a welcome addition. He'll be assisting me as a zoning coordinator as well. And tonight we have a guest appearance from city staff also. City planner Jill Thatcher will assist me on the first petition.
All right. Thank you, John. Welcome, everybody. Moving on to roll call. Candace Breyer, I am here. Dharma Ackman. Mike Daniel.
Here.
Drew Denson.
Here.
Dave DeVarty.
DeVarty here.
Christina Glusek. Here. Patty Leskowski.
Here.
Roberta Sutton. Here. Julie Weatherby.
Here.
We have a quorum. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Are there any questions, comments on the agenda? If not, do we have a motion to approve the agenda? Thank you, Julie. Support from Drew. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to approval of minutes. We have minutes from the October 22nd, 2025 ZBA meeting. Are there any questions, comments, corrections to those minutes? If not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Thank you, Patty. Support?
Support.
Support from Dave. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to public hearings. First, we have petition ZBA 25-0033, 495 Earhart Road. John?
Thank you. Sydney Canaan, representing the property owner, is seeking a variance from section 5.19.1 subsection A, parking standards applicability. St. Paul's School is proposing to construct a 2,582 square foot addition for a new library and reconfiguring the parking lot and expanding it 59 spaces from 112 spaces to 171. The applicant requests relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals for required electrical vehicle parking. Section 5.19.2 subsection C requires 10% of EV installed spaces, which was supposed to be 18, and 40% EV capable spaces of 69. The applicant is proposing to provide 8 EV installed spaces and 4 EV ready spaces. This is a variance request of 75 EV spaces. Additionally, the property is zoned R1B. And at this point, I will turn it over to Jill Thatcher, city planner, who is, this is her site plan project. She has some more information about the project itself.
Thank you, John. So yes, this is a site plan project, which has 2 sort of larger parts to it. The first is that they want to put a library addition onto St. Paul's Lutheran School. And the second part of the project is to reconfigure the parking lot to make it safer and easier for kids and buses and cars to all interact. And because they are pulling up all of the pavement and reconfiguring what's there now, it did trigger the need for site plan approval. And the need for site plan approval, in turn, triggers the need for electric vehicle parking spaces. This is an ask for a variance of 75 spaces. The applicants, let's see, we talked about the best way to approach it, and the applicants thought that they should base the variance request on the percentage of employees that they have in the building. And rather than providing all of the EV parking spaces, they are proposing that because they have 28 full-time employees at the school, that they would provide 8 EVI spaces, which is 21% of the full-time employees, and 4 EVR spaces, which is 11% of full-time employees. And I do want to note that the library project will not result in any increase in kids or in full-time employees. It's just a new library. But they're trying to undertake all of this project at once. As you know, the purpose and intent of the EV parking ordinance is to ensure parking lots are prepared for the future while providing immediate support for electric vehicles. And the best time to do this is at the time of a significant development project on the site. I'm not going to get into all of their responses to the standards for approval. You have those in the staff report. But that's it for me. Thank you.
All right, if you'll turn your attention to the monitors, you'll see the first map is the zoning map. You see the highlighted parcel in the center of your screen, and it's just north of Geddes Road and to the west of Earhart Road. The next slide is the location map showing surrounding properties and existing conditions. And the next slide is the zoomed in aerial photo of the subject property. The next slide is the survey. It's an Alta survey that was submitted with the site plan project itself. And I'm going to let Jill describe the next couple slides.
Sure. So this slide in the gray box on the top shows the parking lot area. The school was built in 1964. It was only 4 classrooms at the time. It's grown a couple of times since then. I think most recently was in the 1980s. 1999 was the last big additions to the school. It's kind of hard to see on here, but every space where you see a black dot, which is most of the spaces in the main parking lot, right in the middle of that gray box, those are would be required electric vehicle parking spaces, and it's a lot of them. John, would you jump to the next slide? This just shows the layout of the circulation on the site. Would you go to the next one? That's the one that this is the one I like. This shows their proposed locations for the reduced number of electric vehicle parking spaces and where they would go. When you install EV spaces, you always have to address ADA accessible parking first. So you can see that the accessible spaces are signed there and striped on the left side of the parking lot. Those all have EV, either EV install or EV ready. I'm not sure which because I can't read that, it's too small. But all the little circle with a dot in them are where the new EV spaces would be. Next slide, please. These are some photos that Mr. Barrett took out on the site. You can see that there's a pretty deep setback from the road to the school. This is the main driveway entrance on the left side of the screen. Picture of the parking lot looking at the school. The left side of the screen where that black SUV is, not the far left, but the near left, is, I believe, where the handicap parking spaces are. Next slide. This is another view looking at the gymnasium on the left-hand side. Just a couple more shots of the parking lot. And then there's a soccer field below it. All right.
That's the end of staff presentation, and we'll take any questions that you have at this time.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Jill. Any questions? Christina?
Question, so Jill, are they changing the configuration of the overall parking?
Yes. And they are adding spaces too.
So what we're looking at right now, the light gray box, is that's the proposed, but how does that compare to the existing? If you were to overlay it, or?
If you go back up to the Alta survey, it's pretty close. Right now, if you go, can you zoom in on that, John? I'll let you do that.
I don't think it'll let me zoom in. but
Okay, just go to
they
the
have
aerial
it-
photo. Go to the
they-
aerial photo, that would work.
Yeah, you also have it in your packets as well. Aerial photo, sorry, the zoom,
The aerial photo zoom, yeah.
there you go.
No,
Okay.
there, that one, yeah. So see right now, you can turn in off of Earhart Road,
Yeah.
and you make a big loop around the parking lot. And there's parking all in between there, filling it in. Now, if you skip ahead to the site plan, you can see how the circulation has changed a little bit. It's not a big change, but now, see how the drive aisle on the top, no, sorry, on the right, is this one. There's more separation between the parking stalls and this drive aisle. It's pushed out. It's a modest change, really, and then they've reconfigured some of the spaces that are on this site and around the edges of the other drives.
So I'll go back to let me see, that drive is
Yeah.
different than
There, and the new drive is to the right.
right there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what is that, the box in upper right-hand
This.
corner, is that a field? What is that?
That'd be a great question for the applicant when it's their
Okay,
turn.
Just curious. So there could be some room for expansion of parking in the white zone.
You mean in the future,
Sure.
potentially?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
not like any kind of, well, I can ask if there's some structure under, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if those are four-square courts or if it's some sort of stormwater basin. Sydney will be able to tell you.
Dave?
Thanks.
A couple things. Remind me, EV installed and EV ready, what's the difference?
EV installed is one that you can drive up to today and plug your car in. EV ready has everything except the unit that you hook up to your car. It's already underground. It would be very quick to install that above ground. And then EVC, EV compatible, it has all the conduits underground, but you would still need to do more work below grade before you could put the chargers up on top. So
Okay.
EVR is closer to done than EVC.
Gotcha. So they're proposing EVI and EVR
Right,
and no EVC.
that's correct.
And maybe this is for the applicant. I'm looking at this picture on the screen now, and there's that lower drive that comes off the circulating drive, and it looks like a bunch of parking places there. Are those staff parking places, or what are those? Do you know?
I do not know.
Thank you. Oh, one other question. Whenever you do parking lots, you need stormwater retention or detention. Could you maybe go to the green, actually the aerial of the field, and show me where that stormwater detention is?
I'm going to let the project engineer talk to you about stormwater.
Okay, thank you.
I can talk in generalities, but she can talk in details.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? All right, if the petitioner is here, if you could please come forward, sign in, state your name, you'll have 5 minutes.
Evening, everybody. My name is Dan Brischke. I'm a member at St. Paul. I had 2 daughters that took their St. Paul education and thrived at Pioneer and moved on. I now have grandchildren at the school, so I'm engaged with the program and proud to be part of the Ann Arbor community and providing an educational service for a small number of families that enjoy the St. Paul experience. Sydney has been one of our key team leaders in putting the project together, and she has some remarks for the group.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Sydney Kanan. I'm with AEW, or Anderson, Eckstein, and Westrick. A little easier to say AEW. We are the civil engineering firm and the architecture firm assisting St. Paul with their site plan project. As John and Jill sort of gave that update, it's an existing school, existing parking lot. They are doing some expansion to the parking lot, building a library, and as such have triggered the need to meet the ordinance requirements, and that is why we are here today. So I will open up this presentation, and it is short but sweet. Let's see. I wish I knew the, one of these buttons is start slideshow.
Are you trying to make it larger?
Right here.
Each slide?
Yeah, I just wanted to.
It's that one down right there, yeah.
Got it. Okay, thank you. So what we've prepared today on this slideshow is essentially the requirements as by the ordinance, which John has already sort of gone over, so I won't spend too much time on that. But as he had mentioned, there's 171 spaces that we're proposing as part of this project. And by the ordinance, we would be required to install 18 EVI at the beginning and then have 69 spaces capable or conduit in the ground, ready in the future to install if needed. So we're hoping to gain your approval tonight to vary from this requirement, not with the intent to eliminate EV altogether, but with the intention to better align with the demand of St. Paul and their staff and really what the root of this project is about. So we had looked at some comparables in the area. One of those was St. Francis, who, in our opinion, compares pretty close. They're also a church and a school, and they had been to the board previously, and they were successful in gaining a variance on a very similar platform. So we looked at their presentation, and we looked at what was, their reasoning and their thought behind it, and it aligned rather closely with ours. And that's that we want to provide EV for the majority use of the site, the 90% use of the site, and that is our full-time staff for school Monday through Friday. So this chart simply shows what St. Francis had, 50 full-time staff. They were granted a variance of 20% for EV installed and 10% for EVR. So we, in very similar fashion, applied that rationale to our site, 38 full-time staff. If you do that, even numbers, we're providing 8 spaces EVI, which is slightly over the 20%, and then 4 spaces EVR, again, slightly over the 10%. We believe that this request meets the intent of the ordinance by providing the EV aligned with our most frequent use of the site, and we would hope that you agree. We believe this remains synchronous with comparable locations in the city. And really with that, we've kind of got some additional items here further justifying our rationale. I won't read them verbatim, but we do believe that this doesn't limit St. Paul in the future from providing additional spaces. So if the demand is there, they still have the opportunity at any point to meet that. We think the compliance percentage level exceeds that of others in the area and St. Francis. And with that, Dan has a couple more comments.
I guess I'd just like to add, the practical use of a school parking lot, at least in our case, it has 170 some odd spaces, but they're rarely all full. There's a lot of chaos in the morning for pickup. I've been a part of that. I've been a pickup part of the process for drop-off and pickup and attending events. So for a short period of time, lot will be full.
30 seconds.
For the most of the time. There aren't people that are there all night. It's not residential, it's not commercial. There aren't extended periods of time where people besides the staff are parked. So the use of additional infrastructure that won't be used, we want to be part of the future, but we can only be so much. And even if we had the spaces, they likely wouldn't be used.
All right, thank you. Questions for the petitioner? Dave?
John, if you could go back to that one slide where I asked the question about that additional, what looked like additional parking on the side drive. Is that possible for you to pull up?
Yeah, I'm going to have to ask CTN to relinquish this existing PowerPoint and go back to staff's.
We have to take the,
Do I have to
Or
take it
I
out?
think, yeah, you have to remove your,
just pull it out.
and then click off of it too on that screen, I believe. There we go. So which slide did you want, Dave?
The one with the circulation pattern.
That one.
I'm not seeing it. Oh, that one, but I'm not seeing it on my screen.
Oh, well, let's try
Why isn't it
this.
on my screen? Okay, well, I'll look at that. So that lower side thing there, it looks like some parking spaces at the bottom there. What are those parking spaces for, if that's what they are?
So those are for, I guess the reason which some may be asking is why the additional parking, and it's for that occasional imperative of either a church event or the use of the soccer fields draws occasional large crowds. So those parking spaces down there are to provide parking for either the gymnasium use, the soccer field use, those occasional high-demand parking needs. They're not intended for staff, but I guess staff could use them if they so chose.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I
Christine?
had a question too, just picking up on the comment that I had to staff at
Yeah.
the beginning of the presentation. So that zone, or can you describe the existing east edge of the parking and how
Yeah.
it relates to the new east edge of the parking, not the drive, but the parking? And then explain what that, just that, the empty space seemingly looks like.
Yeah. So, hard to see if you guys are seeing the same thing I am. Basically, the east edge, oh, there you go. So the first answer is that dashed kind of rectangle that had like the 4 squares in it.
Yeah, in
That's
the upper right.
just an existing blacktop, basketball, 4 square, things like that for the kids.
Okay.
So that is a good indicator, kind of the east-west changes. Everything to the west of that, the main bulk of the parking lot was all existing, and almost in a one-for-one replacement, all of the existing islands within the parking lot are to remain. So if you look at an old and a new, those islands within, we did add new interior islands in the middle of the parking lot, but the outer ones are the bounds. And then the driveway on the east side of that basketball 4 square area is new, and the intent of that is to lengthen the amount of queuing space available for parent drop-off, and it is also to extend over to the parking lot to the north, so that the pre-K, and Dan can quote me better on this, the pre-K, those spaces to the north are for parents to be able to park, get out of their car, and walk their child, as opposed to staying in the queue of the drop-off.
So in the future, that could be a buildable, that bottom right-hand corner could be a buildable expansion for parking if needed, just to the south
If
of
needed.
the basketball.
I wouldn't rule it out. It would require some additional engineering and some retrofitting. We are proposing, as a part of our landscape requirement, we need to include bioretention. So there is going to be a bioretention area within that. But certainly if we needed more parking in the future, we could relocate and meet the requirement elsewhere if that came up.
As a member who's been part of the church since the last expansion, which was in '99, I know that when we put the plans together for this, we hope someday we can expand again. And my understanding is that when we talk with our designers and our professional help, that the parking lot that we're putting in now, the reason we're willing to spend a little extra money in it now is because it should serve our needs both now and in the future. So that's why we embrace the fact that we want to get some electrical capability in there, an appropriate amount.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions for the petitioners? All right, thank you very much. If there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this petition, the public hearing is now open, so please come forward, sign in, state your name. If you are accessing the meeting remotely, please press star 9 or use the raise hand function if you are accessing through the web link.
Are there any callers online, Eric?
No, none online at this time.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you, Eric. With that, the public hearing is closed and we are in discussion.
Curious, I should have asked Jill this earlier, but so section 5.19.2.c, is that apply for schools, or like what rolls up under that section for the requirement of the percentage of stations?
That's the general EV requirements that apply to all parking lots.
All parking lots,
Including
not even
schools.
school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everything
Yeah.
rolls up into it?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, I have a question that might be a little convoluted. So if I'm remembering correctly, when St. Francis came for their variance, it was before the EV parking requirements were modified to only apply to like the new part of the parking lot or the like impacted part of the parking lot. So if I'm remembering, that's how they came up with this whole, well, we'll base it on staff kind of thing. And then since then, the ordinance has changed to only apply to the portion of the parking lot that's being impacted by the development. So if you've got an existing parking lot that you're not changing, you don't have to retrofit all of it for EV.
That's correct.
They're increasing the number of parking spaces on site, right?
Yes.
So how does just for curiosity's sake, the 20% EVI that they're proposing, if they just did 20% of the new spaces that they're adding, whatever that number is, how does that compare to the
Let me find
8 or
it.
whatever they're proposing as part of their?
I could answer that.
Yeah, it's in the staff report.
They're adding 59 new spaces, which would be 20% of 59, well, 60 essentially would be 12,
Okay,
which is exactly between the installed and the ready. That's the number that they've arrived at.
okay.
So I can just quick do that calculation
No,
right here.
that's great, thank you.
Sure.
Julie?
But the whole parking lot is being, it sounds like there's being bioswales added, and so the whole parking lot is being essentially removed and work is being done.
Right,
correct?
and that's why they arrived at such a large number of required EV parking spaces, because the whole parking lot's getting removed and redone.
And that's kind of the point of the ordinance is,
Right, when
That
you're,
when
when
it's
you're, when you're
being-
doing more than just milling the top layer and, putting down new asphalt, but when you're actually digging it up and that's the point of the ordinance is that that's the time to install the conduit before you put down the new concrete or asphalt.
Patty?
So when I look online, it tells me that by 2030, like all car sales are going to be between, EV car sales are going to be between 40 and 60%. Oh, sorry. Which means that if you look at their current staff, which is at 38, that means at least 15 spots have to be EV capable. And so I'm wondering if, even though it works for 2025, if like the intention of the zoning ordinance was to make it ready for the future, if we're really meeting the future requirements.
Mike?
I mean, when I think back to when I was, and I went back and looked at the minutes from our meeting in 2021, and I think it's very similar to the St. Francis situation. I know all of us weren't on the board then, but the argument that this is a school in a church where you have a certain number of people who park there for work, a small subset, and then it spikes during events, whether that's a service or a sporting event or something, for a very short period of time, and then dips back down. My memory of our conversation, for those of us who were on the board then, was that was very persuasive to us. We voted 5-1 yes on that. This is almost identical numbers, even a little bit more. When we saw the numbers up there, they're doing a little bit more than St. Francis did from a percentage. And so I remember at the time struggling with this a bit because there's nothing really unique about the property other than the use of it, but that use is pretty unique. Like that's what persuaded me was this is a church and a school where the majority of the time it's a small subset of people who park there for anything longer than 1 hour. And so I'm going to stick where I voted in 2021 and vote yes on this.
Dave?
I was here also when we did the discussion for St. Francis, and I agree with Mike's position on this. I agree generally that we're asking essentially, the current ordinance is asking for a large expenditure of infrastructure that will go unused and wasted. I'm going to vote in favor of this. I think they are meeting the what we're after in terms of adding EV chargers, and they are adding essentially 20% of the new spaces that they're adding, which is, to me, a relevant argument to approve this variance request.
Julie?
So I think I'm looking at it a different way, where I don't see the zoning, it goes with the land, and they could sell this tomorrow, and then this new lot wouldn't be ready, and it could be an office, and it could be, I mean, granted, it's unlikely. I just don't see where it fits any of, it certainly doesn't seem like the minimum variance. It's a really big variance to me, and I don't see, there's no practical difficulty peculiar to the property. I mean, I think if we say, well, this usage doesn't do it, then we say that for every building that doesn't have, isn't full to the brim with people who come in all day, every day. Like, I don't understand how this is different. I mean, maybe we don't agree with the ordinance, but I don't see how this property is special in any way. I don't understand how just people coming to say, well, we don't have that many people and we don't need to follow the ordinance, or we don't choose or want to or think it's right to follow the ordinance. I don't understand the logic of that. I can't. I don't see how there's anything here that where I can say, yes, this makes sense for this user, because that's not really how we've kind of said that this should be done. So I'm happy to keep listening, but I just I don't see how this is different. I don't understand the practical difficulties or what the variance suggests.
I also struggle with that being the fact that I don't understand I understand how they arrived at this number, but I don't understand if it's meeting the minimum requirement that we often put on other things a setback. Is this the minimum wattage that you can build into the setback, right? To me, this is a huge variance. And there could be compromises that could be made in my mind that says okay, you maybe are not going to install stations at each one of those slots, right? But you are definitely going to make sure that the cabling is there, right, while you have the parking lot up.
So I'm sure
Christine?
cost is it hasn't been brought up, but that there's a I'm just guessing, a large infrastructure cost with that, even if it's for downstream needs. I don't know what those are, but I gotta think that's a driver too in bringing experience, but that's just speculation on my end. And maybe to respond, Julie, to your comments, that perhaps the conversation back, and I wasn't here either in 2021, at least I don't think I was, that there was a discussion, it sounds like, based on the use, that it really goes, it spikes up, and then there's a complete lull. Maybe that's the differentiator with like a typical office setting too, where it's going to be a more constant between a 9 to 5, but maybe that's a variable to negotiate around to apply some kind of logic due to the use of this. Just a thought.
Dave?
At any point, I'm ready to make a motion. I just wanted to add, they could not replace part of the parking lot and come in and ask for basically what they're asking for, or they wouldn't really need a variance. They could get their 20% just by doing part of the parking lot. However, this is the time to do it. And it makes sense to me I'm looking at the circulation pattern compared with what exists now, and there's a huge improvement that's coming along with the added spaces, and it just makes sense. I would hate to have policies that disincentivize, by adding significant infrastructure costs, disincentivize making these sorts of improvements. And I'm fearful that that's what this ordinance is doing in this case. At the same time, I see it totally in parallel with what our decision was with the St. Francis case. So I'm going to vote for this. At any point, if you'd like me to make a motion, I'm ready.
I'm struggling with this because in the St. Francis case, they were not tearing up all of their parking. The ordinance applied to all of the parking because it hadn't been revised yet to only apply to the new parking, but they legitimately were only impacting a portion of their parking lot. And in this case, I can see Julie's point and Patty's point where they are tearing up the whole thing. And maybe all of the spaces that are required don't make sense based on this use and the fact that there's less than 30 cars in the parking lot on any given day for most of the time. But are 8 EVI spaces and 4 EV-ready spaces really the minimum? I'm not sure. That's where I'm stuck.
Are you ready for a motion?
I'm ready if there's no more discussion. Yeah, of course.
Does this ordinance also apply to like malls and stadiums and like any sort of space like that? So, I mean, that to me is a very similar use case where most of the time, like maybe you have employees parking there full-time, that's a subset, and then people are coming in for a special event. But I'm assuming that in those cases, like, they would also have to comply with this. So I guess I'm not sure how the use case is that different than other places that have a short-term influx of people.
Question for, this might be more for Jill. Could they, in theory, take apart part of their parking lot, meet that standard, and then later on do the other half and not have to apply for a variance? If they did it in 2 phases, would that be any different?
I mean, theoretically, yes.
Okay.
If you don't touch all of the parking spaces, then we're not going to require EV for the part that's untouched.
Okay.
But I haven't heard that discussed.
No, I was just curious
Yeah.
if that was possible.
Okay, ZBA 25-0033, 495 Earhart Road. In accordance with standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants a variance of 75 electric vehicle spaces from Section 5.19.2C, parking requirements. The property is completing the site plan project process, and 171 total parking spaces are being proposed. Section 5.19.2C requires 10% EVI, that's 18 spaces, and 40% EVC, 69 spaces. The applicant requests installing 8 EVI spaces and 4 EVR spaces. A total of 87 EV spaces is required, and the applicant proposes 12 EV spaces.
Thank you, Dave. We have a motion. Do we have support? Thank you, Drew. Dave?
DeVarty, yes.
Christina?
Yes.
Patty?
No.
Roberta?
No.
Julie?
No.
I also vote no. Mike?
Yes.
Drew?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4 yeses. The request is denied. Moving on to petition ZBA 25-0024, 2201 Lafayette Road. John?
Before we go any further, Member Gluzak has an announcement.
I need to recuse myself for this petition. I'm a neighbor. Thanks.
John, is that, I have no issue with that, but is that a required reason, or I don't know, it's just if it's a family member or like a financial interest?
Well, it's also if,
You just don't think you can be objective?
if you feel like, if you're a neighbor to the property and you just feel like you might have, you know, if you don't feel 100% comfortable.
So that's, it's your
It's
judgment.
It's your
call.
judgment, your decision of whether you feel like you may have a conflict of
But there are
interest.
certain relationships where it's not a judgment, you have to recuse, correct?
Correct. If you work for the firm, and if you have a financial decision, or you have a vested interest, you own the property or something like that.
Or a related family.
Relationships, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was just curious about that.
But in this case, Member Gluzak informed me that she was a neighbor to the property and she was going to recuse herself. And
I just hadn't heard that come up in my time on the board, so, fair enough.
all right, the next petition before us is ZBA 25-0024, and it's further addressed as 2201 Lafayette Road. Sarub Kumar, property owner, is requesting a variance of 5.75 feet from table 5.17-1, single-family residential zoning district dimensions. If granted, the variance will allow the existing 200-square-foot pergola in the side yard to remain 1.25 feet from the side lot line. The property is zoned R1A, single-family residential district, and requires a minimum side yard setback of 7 feet. The subject property is located at the intersection of Concord Road and Lafayette Road. The parcel is north of Getty's Avenue in the Angel neighborhood. The home was constructed in 2013 and is approximately 3,090 square feet in size. The parcel is 21,039 square feet in area. A zoning compliance permit was not obtained for the pergola prior to installation. A permit has subsequently been applied for, and a survey has since been completed. The survey indicates the structure is 1.25 feet from that side lot line at its closest point. If you'll turn your attention to the monitor, you will see the zoning map and the subject property in blue in the center of your screen. And I said it's just north of Getty's Road there. The next slide is the location map showing existing conditions and surrounding properties. And the next slide is the zoomed in aerial photo. And you'll see in the survey that the way the house is configured, this serves as the side yard, but it really serves as the backyard, and the pergola is approximately right where my cursor is being shown. The next slide is the survey that was submitted with the application, and you can see the 10-foot by 20-foot aluminum pergola identified and pointed out right here. And it says 1.25 feet at its closest point at the southeast corner of the structure. The next slide is the site plan that was submitted by the applicant, showing the exact information that I've discussed previously. And these are the photos that I took at my inspection. You see the pergola and its relationship to the fence, which is approximately right on the property line. This is the front of the home, and this is the south side of the home. This is coming around to the east side of the lot, and you can see the pergola in its current configuration. Relationship to the fence and the adjacent property owner. You can kind of see the adjacent home in through the trees there a little bit. Relationship between the distance between the fence and the structure. Relationship between the structure and the back of their house. More of the same. And that concludes staff's presentation at this time, and I will take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, John. Questions? All right, if the petitioner's here, if you could please come forward, sign in, state your name for the record, you will have 5 minutes.
How do I sign in?
I think there should be a paper.
Oh, sorry,
there.
just here. Speaking here? Yes. Okay, wonderful. Good evening, members of the zoning board. My name is Saurabh Kumar. My wife, 2 kids, and I, we live at 2201 Lafayette Road in Ann Arbor. And thank you for the opportunity to speak about a request for a side yard setback variance. Just sharing some context, we used to live in Ann Arbor. We moved about 10 years ago. We moved back last year and bought the house. And when we were looking for houses, we were looking for something with a nice backyard. We couldn't really find something in the area that we looked for. So we ended up buying this house, which it still doesn't have a functional backyard, but we've sort of done what we can with the current setup. The house, as John said, was on a lot that was actually split in January 2013 with our neighbors, the Saints. And as you guys can see, this has created an irregular parcel with no traditional backyard. And actually, as we found out from John, what we have is technically a side yard, not even a backyard. The technical backyard of the house is on a slope facing the street, and it's not functional given the slope and the lack of privacy. So for us, the small area behind our house is the only space that serves as a backyard for normal family use with any modicum of privacy. As you guys see, we installed the pergola. I do want to acknowledge that we should have gone through the permitting process first. We had asked around, and we were under the impression that as long as it was an open structure without any site coverage, it would not require a permit. Clearly, we were wrong, and for that, I am very, very sorry. And we installed it ourselves, so it wasn't like a contractor thing where we would have found out anyways. As John said, again, the pergola sits about 5 feet from the east side lot line. And I think the city's interpretation would require us to move it to 7 feet. And I think if you kind of look at the size of that side yard, if we move the pergola 7 feet, then we basically have no backyard to speak of, which is usable in the way that we're currently using it right now. I do want to emphasize that the Saints, who are immediate neighbors behind the fence, they've submitted a letter of support. I think, John, you've had that. Several other adjacent neighbors have also submitted letters of support. So we have, so the neighbors are supportive of the pergola itself. We have some specific reasons why we think you should grant us a request. One is that this is a practical issue that is unique to this property, especially in that area. Most houses in the area have a functional backyard. We don't. And obviously, it's your prerogative to deny the variance. If you do, then it would effectively remove any functional location for us to have access to the structure like a pergola. And it will require some demolition and repair, but that's okay. But I think our lens is that it would deny ordinary permitted residential use that we should otherwise have access to in a home. In terms of substantial justice to neighbors and public, we have support petitions from our neighbors who are very okay with the pergola as it is, and they don't get disturbed by us. The last thing I would say is, like, this hardship wasn't created by us. It stems from the land division that happened in 2013 and the existing placement of the house that sort of was done by the previous owners who built the house. I mean, from our perspective, we've done the minimum necessary for us to have a backyard where we can have some family time for a family of 4, and that's really what we're asking for. So we respectfully request that you approve our side yard variance. Thank you for your time and consideration, and happy to answer any questions. And again, very, very sorry for doing it without the variance. If that's completely on us. And John's been amazing to work with, so thank you for that, John.
Thank you. Questions for the petitioner? All right, thank you very much. If there is anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this petition, the public hearing is now open. Now is your chance. Please press *9 if accessing by phone, or use the raise hand button if accessing through the web link.
Do we have any callers online, Eric?
No one on the web at this time.
All right, thank you, Eric. With that,
Before we go any further, I do want to apologize, the correspondence, lacking of correspondence in your staff report, but I have pulled it up. Mr. Kumar is correct. The neighbors directly next door, the Saints, they are at 2203 Lafayette, were in support. A gentleman named Matthew Wixon at 2205 Lafayette sent in a letter of support. And Aaron Brinster also sent in a letter of support.
all right. With that, the public hearing is closed and we're in discussion. Dave?
I have a question for staff, for John. So I've got a pergola in my backyard, actually closer to the house than to any lot line. My pergola, actually, this pergola here has the posts right at the very edge of the kind of the ceiling structure. If the posts were 7 feet away and the ceiling structure extended to where it is now, would that still trigger this setback?
It would, because even though the structure would, so the support structure would meet the 7 foot, the roofs, overhangs, and other types of appurtenances on structures can encroach 2 feet into a side setback or a setback. So it would be allowed to be 5 feet away. And I think where some of the confusion with permitting may have come in, sometimes people call up and say, and it happens, the world's not perfect, but someone may call in and say, hey, I'm going to build a pergola, it's 200 square feet, do I need a permit? The information may have been conveyed wrong. You don't need a building permit for any structure 200 square feet or less. You need a zoning permit, and that's the difference on this. Maybe something, I don't speculate on the communication or what was wrong, but that happens sometimes frequently. People get confused between a building permit and a zoning permit.
Okay, thank you.
Roberta?
If we were to grant the variance, does it allow for then a more permanent structure to be built, or is it minimum that it's just this open air structure? Or in the future, because they're allowed to have something close to the side yard, could they build something more permanent? Or a future user?
Well, yeah, or you could possibly kind of put parameters on this variance if you grant it, say, it's for this portion of the side yard, only for this pergola structure. But generally, it grants relief for side setbacks. But if you were to conditional it and say it was only for accessory structures, they're not going to be able to build their home 1.25 feet from the lot line.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? We ready for a motion? right.
ZBA 25-0024, 2201 Lafayette Road. The Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants a variance of 5.75 feet from Table 5.17-1, single-family residential zoning district dimensions. If granted, the variance will allow the existing 200-square-foot pergola in the side yard to remain 1.25 feet from the side lot line. The pergola is to remain in its current location and configuration.
Thank you, Dave. We have a motion. Do we have support?
Yes.
Thank you, Drew. Mike?
Yes.
Drew?
Yes.
Dave?
DeVarty, no.
Patty?
Yes.
Roberta?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
I also vote yes, the request is granted. Moving on to petition ZBA 25-0034. Oh, sorry, we have to bring Christina back. All right, now moving on to petition ZBA 25-0034, 1369 Jewett. John?
Sarah Lawrence, property owner, is requesting a 63-square-foot variance from Table 5.17-1, single-family residential zoning district dimensions, lot area minimum. The property is zoned R1B, single-family residential, and is 19,937 square feet in area. Parcels in the R1B district require a minimum lot area of 10,000 square feet. The variance, if granted, will allow for approval of a land division and the creation of one 9,937 square foot parcel and one 10,000 square foot parcel. The subject property is located on the north side of Jewett Avenue, west of Packard Street in the Bryant Patton Gill East neighborhood. The property is currently vacant. The Ann Arbor Community Land Trust intends to complete a land division with the current R1B zoning and then apply for residential building permits to construct a small primary home and an 800 square foot accessory dwelling unit on each of the two parcels. The rear parcel and future residents are required to be accessed by a 30-foot private easement. If you'll turn your attention to the monitors, you'll see the first map is the zoning map, and the subject property is highlighted in blue in the center of the screen. And as you can tell, it's just east of, it's kind of in that neighborhood between Packard Road and South Industrial. The next slide is the location map showing surrounding properties and existing conditions. And the next slide is the zoomed in aerial photo of the subject property. The next slide is the survey that was submitted with the application. As you can see in the center, it's 0.458 acres, 19,937 square feet in area. The next slide shows the submitted proposed land division survey and how the property is to be divided. See the north parcel at 9,937 and the south parcel that's fronting Jewett Avenue at 10,000 square feet. These are the photos that I took at the site inspection. Adjacent property to the east, adjacent property to the west, and adjacent properties across the street to the south of the subject property. And that is all I have, staff's presentation at this time, and I will take any questions that you may have.
Questions for John? Patty?
That one?
So I'm assuming that they actually built houses on it that would have to be some sort of shared driveway for the.
I'm sorry, say that, ask that question again.
I'm sorry, are they planning on building two houses there, or is that going to be like a house and an accessory unit or whatever?
Well, I will answer for the applicant. I hope I get it correct, but each lot will have a principal structure with either an attached or detached ADU. I'm not 100% positive. That probably attached, I think, from previous. And it's still to be decided, but each property is going to have an ADU. And the rear parcel will have to be accessed with a 30-foot wide easement for egress and utilities, public utilities, water and sewer.
John, I vaguely recall a similar request to this. I thought it was in the same general area. Do you know?
You have a great memory, and I knew this question was going to come
Do
up.
you know,
It was-
like, how that compares to this request, I guess, as
So,
far as
yep,
size?
That was ZBA 24-0016, and it was located at 1294 Jewett, just down the street on the south side of Jewett, and it was the exact same property, or the same dimensions, a 63 square foot variance. Many of these lots in this neighborhood, if you look at the aerial photo, look at the lot next door, they're all like 19,937. There's multiple lots, the same exact size.
Okay.
But that one at 1294 Jewett had the same application and same dimensions, and that was approved.
Thank you. Any other questions for John? All right, if the petitioner is here, if you could please come forward, sign in, state your name, you will have 5 minutes.
What is the number for this? Appeals number?
25-0034.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Sarah Lorenz. I'm the Executive Director of the Ann Arbor Community Land Trust. We currently have this property under contract, and we have another parcel on this street and 2 others on this street. So we're hoping to build several homes on this street, part of a 26 home package or phase that we actually just had our housing TIF approved on Monday night. So we're very excited to move forward with this. We have about half of these 26 homes under reservation with what we're calling critical workers or critical employees. And these are the folks that make our community run, who can no longer afford to live in the community that they serve. And so I've been meeting with these folks for 9 months now. I also have a waiting list of over 650 people who would like homes here as well. And so I'd like to tell you a little bit about why we would like to build 4 homes on this site instead of 1 or 2. If a single family home were built on this site, it would probably exceed $1 million in price, possibly much more. Some of the infill homes are going for $1.5, $1.6, $1.7 million because of the land cost. Fortunately, we have gotten this under contract at a reasonable price from a sympathetic and supportive local property owner. And we would like to divide this lot and build a primary home and an accessory home on each of the lots for a total of 4 units. And the reason that we do this is because without any other subsidies, this lowers the cost of each home by about $100,000. By splitting the land cost and splitting the cost of the utilities, each home is automatically about $100,000 less, so that is really significant. And then with our TIF approvals and other subsidies, we can lower the prices further. And what's so crucial for our critical employees is to get these home prices down, because the median home price is $550,000 to $600,000. It's almost impossible to buy anything under $300,000, and you need an income of probably around $150,000 a year. Some of my buyers who have reservations who may end up on this site include a high school teacher at Pioneer High School nearby. He is a few years, I think he's been working there for 4 years, but high school teachers are starting at $45,000 a year in Ann Arbor Public Schools. We have a medical assistant at the hospital who may be the person that saves your life someday when you're laying in a hospital bed for some reason. She has a small child, so she and her husband have reduced work hours right now, and they need a home because they have a baby and a puppy. We have a single mom who works in the psychiatric ER, caring for community members in crisis. She is divorced, and she has 3 daughters, and she needs a home that she can afford. All 3 of these folks can afford homes at about $125,000, and we're going to be able to build those homes for them on this street. We have others. We have librarians who would like to live on this street. We have a single dad whose small child lives down the road in the neighborhood, and he would like to be able to live here so that his daughter can walk to his house whenever she would like. And that's why we need to build 4 homes on this lot instead of 1 for $1.5 million. So we are hoping that you will grant the variance for 63 square feet so that we can divide this parcel and build 4 homes for these community members that serve us every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for the petitioner? Dave?
Sarah?
Yes.
Quick question. Actually, I just want to say I'm really enthusiastic about the potential that the Ann Arbor Community Land Trust brings to meeting the need for these service sector and even lower wage permanent full-time jobs, which pay, like you said, starting salary for a teacher, $45,000. Quick question about the affordability. So people have to meet certain criteria to be eligible to buy in your developments. And I know I've asked this, I just want to hear it again. Is there a cap on equity increase so that the affordability of these becomes kind of a built-in permanent aspect of this housing? So it's not affordable for the initial buyer, but then becomes, inflates to market rate down the road. Could you just address that briefly?
Yes, so all of these homes will have deed restrictions, and we have to set these up as condos because there are 2 units per parcel, and they can't be sold separately that way unless they are set up as condominiums. So this will be a condo development of 4 units, which adds a lot of cost to the homes, unfortunately. So there will be deed restrictions, and the condo master deed also contains those deed restrictions as well. So there are 2 elements. They're also being built in small clusters like this, so neighbors will be aware if people are selling their homes. The deed restriction contains a 1.5% per year appreciation cap, so they will be able to gain some equity, but it will be far less than Ann Arbor's typical historical rate has been about 5% appreciation. That will keep the homes affordable. The Community Land Trust will also have the right of first refusal to purchase the homes, and we will intend to do that because if we take them back into ownership, if we have additional subsidy at the time, we can actually lower the price of the homes to another buyer if the case warrants and we have the funds. So it really is important. We intend to keep these homes in the Community Land Trust in perpetuity. So the structure, whether it lasts 100 years or 150 years, would serve generations of our critical employees. And then when the structure is obsolete, the Community Land Trust could tear it down and build another home at that time.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for the petitioner? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this petition, the public hearing is now open. Please come forward, sign in, state your name. You will have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I live across the street. My name is James Scrivens. I'm at 1374 Jewett Street. I've lived there for 29 years. I'm a licensed design professional. I've probably done dozens of projects in the city. Many of you may know about it. But my biggest concern with this project is not so much the density, but it's the ramifications of removing parking from single family residents. And based on if this goes through, the lack of parking could be forced to the street because there's no demand for driveways at that location based on just needing egress there. I haven't heard from the petitioner whether there's going to be parking on site. Parking on site requirement may be there or may not be there. There's no, if they park on the street, there's no sidewalks. We have postal delivery at the street, so people block our mailboxes, and we have from time to time not gotten our mail. So all this adds up to an issue as far as what impact this development has on the streetscape. This last weekend, the football game was there. The street was completely packed on both sides. You had 12 feet to get down the middle. If people start parking on the street and they don't park on site, with the inclement weather, if they're not able to remove their vehicles, snow, they get pushed in, they get buried. That's the main critical point that I have here is that whether parking is going to be provided for these 4 additional units with the amount of 75 or 72.5 feet at the street there. If each one of these owners has a vehicle or 2 or 3 vehicles and they're parking on the street, how much impact that has on our street as a whole. And if it continues, it happened they split the property down the street. I wasn't notified about that. We have Clonara, they're good people. They park on the street for their events too, but they do have parking on site too. When they tore down their houses and built their school facility back in 2000, they met with us and they provided enough parking for their facility at that point there too. There's a church at the end of the street there. On Sundays, they fill up the street as well, off of Industrial there. So my main issue around with this
30 seconds.
is the parking and whether it's going to be required or mandated and whether the petitioner is going to provide it for the housing that's there and what impact that has on it. Because right now we walk up and down the street without any protection as far as little kids. We have walking back and forth down the street. Also, the number of carts to go out on a Monday for trash collection. This development will have 4 units. So it'll be 12 carts maybe that would take up the street. So all that is our issue with what's going on here. So this is my only opportunity to be heard about this. Once this goes through, it's a by right development at that point. So
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you very much. If there's anyone remotely who wishes to speak on this petition, please press *9 or use the raise hand button if accessing through the web link.
We have one call-in listener who has raised their hand. And I'll allow them to speak now. Caller 534, you have 3 minutes to speak. I'm not getting audio for it.
Caller ending in 534, can you hear us?
All right, I will note quickly, we did receive 2 letters regarding this petition. We received a letter from Janet and Pamela Bogart indicating no objection, but asking that the following issues are addressed in the design, including adequate space for driveway to serve both houses and adequate parking for at least 2 vehicles per house. We also received a letter of opposition from Stephanie Cadle Terrace and Jeff Terrace at 1370 Jewett Street. Still nothing from our online.
Not getting any audio. It looks like they're attempting to speak. I mean, I can see the green box showing up around their name, but we're not getting any audio.
Are you hearing now?
No.
Oh, there they are.
Hello?
We can hear you, go ahead.
Yep, we can hear you now.
Oh, thank you. This is Don Solver. I'm calling from 1202 Traver Street here in Ann Arbor. I leave it to your wisdom to evaluate this per your criteria. I want to give you some background. One of the hats I wear is being a buyer's broker. I've worked with a lot of first-time buyers. The last 3 are taking about 2 years each with those clients to find them a home in Ann Arbor that they can afford. Usually needs of quite a bit of repair. With that perspective, it's very difficult to buy a home here in Ann Arbor at modest price level. The city has programs for affordable housing, but those are also rental properties. This is about the only thing going, the Ann Arbor Community Land Trust, that helps people to get attainably priced housing for ownership. So I'm just speaking in support of the organization, the Ann Arbor Community Land Trust, and I'll leave the rest to you. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Any other callers or online?
No other callers at this time?
All right, thank you very much. With that, the public hearing is closed and we are in discussion. Dave?
John, could you go back to this map here where the lot sizes are? So looking at this map, I just want to point out that down the street to the west, in fact, it was one of the lots that we considered in the past with exactly these same sort of dimensions. John's arrow is on it. There are various lots that are basically have the configuration that this lot, if the split goes forward and the development as proposed goes forward, would be very similar to those lots sizes right down the street. Additionally, immediately across the street, there are 2 very narrow lots, which are 2 lots in aggregation about the same size, maybe even a little smaller than this proposed lot split that if it goes forward. John, do you see where those are, the 2 narrow lots? Right across the street from this lot?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And so I think this is consistent with the lot sizes in the neighborhood. Essentially what they're asking for is a difference when they split the lots of 63 square feet, less than the 10,000 square feet, a very minimal request in lot size variation. And allowing this would, in my opinion, allow substantial justice being done, considering great public benefits to the community in terms of providing permanent affordability on new units of housing that would be owner-occupied housing, which is a strong benefit to the community. So I'm going to support this. I think there are many reasons to support it, and I look forward to being able to see this project happen.
Any other comments?
Well, just still processing the comments from the gentleman who lives across the street, was that his address? And the concern for really the added clutter that would result potentially in the street. Bins are a factor, the quantity of having 4 residences, I mean, and then plus parking, that's a concern. I sympathize with them. I'm sure they're not the only, I'm just guessing they're not the only ones that are concerned about the result of inserting 4, even though needed buildings on the parcels. So I have a concern about that because I feel like there needs to be an overall analysis, because if these lots keep repeating this approach, you know, what is going to happen to the road, Jewett, and just simple traffic patterns and just safe use. It sounds like there's no sidewalks either on this street. No sidewalks, so it's, I mean, that's creating not a conducive, safe environment. So I don't know if this is the right, on paper, I think it looks like an appropriate place to insert these 4 residences, but in reality, I think there's a big disconnect. I appreciate what the petitioner is trying to do here, but I'm just having reservation about the impact to the neighborhood and setting a standard too. Thanks. Julie?
I think to that, because it's a public street, correct?
Yes.
And so the parking is available. We all pay for parking equally on public streets. And personally, I'm more concerned with housing people than cars. And I think we have a need to house people, and this is an efficient way of doing that. It's very close to public transit, very walkable, very bikeable, and you know, my street, there isn't enough parking for every house to have 2 cars, and Hill Street, there's not enough parking for people to have 2 cars, and that is part of living in a city. And living close in like this, there are other ways of getting around, and there may be parking available on site, but that to me is not a reason to deny housing if there isn't parking. People make different decisions about transit, and if they need parking to live on this site, then there's a waiting list of 600 people who I'm sure some of them would not need parking. So I think that particular aspect is not a concern that I have.
Any other discussion?
I'm good to go with the resolution if there's no other discussion.
I think we're ready. Thank you, Dave.
Okay. ZBA 25-0034, 1369 Jewett. In accordance with established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants a variance of 63 square foot variance. Here, let me change that. Grants a 63 square foot variance from table 5.17-1, single-family residential zoning district dimensions, lot area minimum. The property is zoned R1B, single-family residential, and is 19,937 square feet. Parcels in the R1B district require a minimum lot area of 10,000 square feet. The variance, if granted, will allow for approval of a land division and the creation of one 9,937 square foot parcel and one 10,000 square foot parcel.
Thank you, Dave. We have a motion. Do we have support?
Support.
Thank you, Patty.
Yes.
Roberta?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mike?
Yes.
Drew?
Yes.
Dave?
DeVarty, yes.
Christina?
Yes.
The request is granted. Moving on to unfinished business, we have none. New business, reports from council, Dharma is not here. ZBA 2026 meeting calendar. I believe that is in our packets. I assume, I haven't looked at it in detail, that it's the standard fourth Wednesday with the December and November meetings combined. That's what it looks like. Do we need to vote on this, John, or is it just?
Yes.
Okay.
I move that we accept the proposed meeting date calendar, which is the fourth Wednesday of every month, January through September through October, and a combined November-December meeting on December 2nd of 2026.
Thank you, Dave. Do you have support?
Yes.
Thank you, Drew. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, our calendar for next year is approved. Moving on to communications. I believe we noted all of the communications that we received as part of the petitions. Also in our packets, we had a planning activities report from the planning manager, Brett Leonard. John, I didn't know if you wanted to mention anything about this. I think it's just a summary of cases and activity over the last.
Yeah, there's some information in there, some introductions to staff, past and present, some acknowledgements, some statistics about the Zoning Board of Appeals, about Planning Commission, some City Council, some graph work, and it's just basically an annual report. And it's in your packet, and you can read it at your leisure.
I did note that Christina needs to be added to that.
Yes, I informed, I saw it was on the email too, and I informed Brett too, so we have made that correction.
Did I miss out on?
You weren't on the 2024 report, but we fixed that
Okay.
error.
I need more emails, so
Yeah.
please send.
Yeah, Dave?
In relation to that, I just want to, the retirees here are some of the people that have worked with us here at the ZBA, and I just want to call them out as hardworking people that I feel having a great honor to have been able to work with them. Chris Chang, Matt Kowalski, Mia Gale, three people who I've personally met through my relationship here with the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I want to thank them for their employment and service, long service to the Ann Arbor community. And 26 years, 18 years, that's a long time to make that sort of a job commitment to our community. And I want to thank them and Jeff, who I don't know as well, for his 30 years of service. I just want to thank those former employees who have retired.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, public comment. If there's anyone from the public who wishes to address the ZBA, now's your chance. No one is here in person with us. If there's anyone remotely, please press *9 or use the raise hand feature.
We have no remote attendees at this time.
All right, thank you. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion from Mike, support from
Support.
Julie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Seasonal.